Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kavin Kumar Kandasamy. Now, I'm going to take you through a bit of a journey in understanding the whole climate issue. I want you to take a look at every issue as an opportunity. So I'm not starting with the question, is climate profitable? It's rhetoric. Climate is profitable. And by the end of this 10-minute conversation or 10-minute speech, I hope you would see the opportunity in climate as much as I have seen. Yeah. So the first thing with climate is a lot of jargons, right? Does anybody even know what IPCC is? All of you know there was a huge climate talk that happened in Baku recently. Do you all know the full form of COP? It's called the Conference of Parties, right? It's a convening of major decision makers from across the world once a year to decide on a problem that is common to us all, which is climate. So I always felt climate has a narrative problem. And if scientists could have solved the climate problem, they would have solved it by now. It needs a lot more common sense. It needs the power of the market, and it needs people to own the problem, right? And that's why I feel climate has a narrative problem. But in 2 slides, let me explain to you what climate change is all about. Now, between 1880, where you can see the whole blue, spread of the chart, all the way to 2020, there has been a change in temperature over the last many years. The permissible limit for change in temperature, which the temperature keeps increasing, is what makes it difficult for us to live on Mother Earth. If we change by more than 2 degrees, everybody talking about 25 degrees AC will be talking about 20 degrees in the air conditioners. Food would become more erratic, right? So the change in temperature over a certain time period is what climate change is all about. Now, the world has agreed that we can permit only 1.5 degrees increase in temperature from now till 2100, which means food will be reliable. Breathing would still be possible. So climate change is a temperature change issue caused by our lifestyle. Now, the biggest culprit, if I can say, in climate change is carbon emissions. Anything that you and I do, including agriculture, has carbon emissions. And there is no running away from it. You can't change it. You can't prevent it. And doctors here, we're all carbon bodies of a certain sense. We're made up of carbon. So when you look at carbon emissions, you'll have to understand how does it affect the world ecosystem as we know it. It creates a surface temperature increase, ocean heat, glacial mass, blah, 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 all the way. If you take a look at the last portion of the thing, it creates inequalities in income. It creates food insecurity because the weather patterns change. People are not able to produce in the same reliability anymore. Air pollution is one of the biggest health problems of our time. It's an epidemic. Water security is becoming. Chennai, a city which has floods and droughts in the same year, cannot be humanely possible, right? It just happens. So water security is a problem. Damaged infrastructure, go on, cyclones, you name it. There's biodiversity loss. Does anybody know the value of an elephant right now? The elephant is valued at $7 million in ecosystem services. So if you put a price tag on everything, you'll understand the amount of damage carbon emissions are doing. So that carbon emission out there is causing all of these changes. Now, we're even going through conflicts between countries saying, that water is mine, so I'm going to wage a war with you to prevent you from building a dam. There's something happening in Ethiopia. It's called the Renaissance Dam. Climate change, right? So climate is a common problem. It's a problem that binds us all. It's not terrorism as much as climate is. And it's the same issue that binds the whole world in terms of intent once a year. And I'm going to tell you how I got here. Somebody was asking me earlier, are you a technocrat? How did you get here? I started my journey in education. I built from 1 to 7 schools between 2014 and 20. I run about 7 schools in Tamil Nadu, which had about 84, people in the team and 700 students. Today, we cater to about 8,000 students spread across 7 schools. Education was an important problem, but the moment I became a father, climate became an urgent problem. And the only way I understood is, what do you do? What is important or what is urgent? I said, I'd rather deal with the urgent problem now because the important problem can be dealt with later. And then I shifted my entire attention to climate. So over the last many years, since COVID, I have worked with various governments. I've worked with various institutions across the world, financial institutions, convening all of them, not with my knowledge of climate, but my ability to bring you all together. And that is success by itself, because we're able to talk, we're able to understand how can we solve the problem combinedly, and how we can use the power of the market. And that's how I founded our climate company called ProClime. We're headquartered in Singapore. We're head officed in Chennai for India, and in Sri Lanka, we're head officed in Colombo. We work with the government of Sri Lanka. We work with 8 states across India, all in a matter of 4 years. But you know what was my last selling argument if I went to, leaders of the state and I told them, climate is this, climate is that? My last statement was, I don't need your charity. Climate is profitable. We will pay you if you let us do our work, right? So that narrative has gotten across so far, and I'll tell you the kind of work that we're doing in the space. But before we do that, I believe one of the earlier speakers spoke about the world. Not everybody is producing the same kind of emissions. Now, these charts can be confusing, but if you take a look at India, India is a growing and an emerging economy. As we grow, our emissions are also growing. But if you take a look at countries like China, which is growing at a rapid pace, but if you take a look at countries like United States and Europe, they've plateaued, right? To the right, where you can see a modest starting point, where you see the gray chart, the gray line, is the total number of carbon emissions that were produced in the year 2021. But how many of them are mitigated or reduced or avoided? Only about 16%. 84% of the emissions are still not mitigated, which means they are not resolved. They are still out there, and they need to be fixed or removed. So that is a big problem. But that means that is a big opportunity that somebody needs to solve. And that's why we came into the space in the hopes of creating a large climate enterprise that can solve this problem. Now, of course, you need a lot of resources to get this done. And I'm going to show you, with the power of the numbers, that how much of investment is going into climate on a yearly basis. And you'll understand climate is the largest market opportunity that exists right now. I'd say even more than AI. Now, if we let the temperature change go on without any intervention, you see the red line out there? We'll have more economic damages. Forget about all the other stuff that people really don't want to talk about, that you will be poorer even though you might be richer by 2100, where even all the resources in the world would not be able to solve the climate problem, right? So, which means it is a bottom line problem, and something needs to happen about it. So companies, when they understand bottom line, they'll say, hey, listen, if I have to pay 10 rupees for it tomorrow, and I'm paying only 1 rupee today, can I spend 2 more rupees today and prevent it from becoming 10 rupees? It's as simple as that. Now, in this entire, movement of things, what has happened is, if you see that gray line, that's fossil fuel investment. And that's oil, coal, everything else. And at some point, climate investments have surpassed oil. Today, the world invests close to $1.5 trillion every year in climate-related opportunities, which include energy, transportation, nature, so much more. Now, again, a very fancy chart, but I'm going to show you something for you all to easily read. On the left, where you can see the governments, that 100 refers to $100 billion spent by governments. National DFIs are financial institutions. And if you take a look there, households, even your stock money is going towards climate causes right now, right? What are the causes they're going to? Water and waste, building infrastructure, energy systems, transport. But if you see that small piece called AFOL-U, it's called agriculture, forest, and other land use, which means forest is an asset and somebody will pay for your forest too. Now, of course, energy got the most amount of funding last year. And $500 billion plus has gone towards energy, mostly into solar. And you're looking at also hydro right now, which is pump storage and more. And one of the speakers spoke about it. But where it needs to go more is here. You see the energy curve, the second chart, chart over there. You can look at how much is going into energy and how much more investment is still needed in energy to avoid the climate crisis. But if you look further, if you look at AFOL-U, which is nature, agriculture, forest, and other land use, so much of investment, about close to $20 billion went in last year into the space. We still need close to $1 trillion, that's what it says, to go into nature-based assets. And I'll tell you what our company is doing in that space, so give you an understanding how climate companies make profit. Right. Now, who's going to pay for all these damages that are happening to Mother Earth? Somebody has to pay for the money to be available. And that's where the power of the carbon markets come in. So if you are a polluter and you cannot limit your pollution any further within your business process, you will have to pay somebody else to compensate for the damage you have done. And that is called the carbon market. And the market right now has split into 4 quadrants. The compliance market, which you can see at the bottom, is worth about $850 billion globally. Now, there are enough companies functioning in this space. My company functions in the voluntary carbon market and the compliance space, and the voluntary market is going to go from $2 billion to $50 billion before 2030, right? Even countries are coming into the space saying that I will provide a climate service, and if your country is not able to meet its target, I will sell you this climate service for a price, and those are called the Article 6 markets. Now, somebody asked me, what type of projects are you talking about? There are 200 types of climate projects which come under the climate ambit and can generate carbon credits. Over here, what have I told you? The mangroves over here has an economic value. My company, ProClime, is developing about 5,000 hectares of mangroves with a $10 million investment in Sri Lanka for a potential return of 25% IRR, which means it is more bankable than even some of the fossil fuel industries right now, because climate is a profitable service. And that money goes back to the communities, goes back to a lot of other people. I see there's a minute more for me. But these are the different types of services that are available in the climate space and can generate an economic opportunity for any of you to participate in as well. Now, I told you about mangroves. I'll very quickly tell you. A tree absorbs carbon, stores it in its trunk. The same carbon, it pushes it back into the soil. This is called carbon sequestration. The amount of carbon it can store is quantified and sold as a token called carbon credits, right? And that credit has a value, either $1 or $100. Our forest credits, which we're developing forests across so many states now, go for about $30 to $40 per ton of carbon, which means puts more money back into tribal communities, puts more money back into state coffers, puts more money back into further creating carbon sinks across the world. So, is climate profitable? Absolutely. I'd like you to just remember one word, which is called additionality. Don't come to me and say now, hey guys, I know a 1,000-acre forest, can it make money? Any existing impact on Mother Earth, which will survive without the support of carbon credits, will not meet the additionality criteria, hence it cannot generate carbon credits. Anything that is new and will add in the fight to climate change can generate carbon credits. Hence, it is additional, right? So, additionality is the word to look out for if you want to run a climate business. Now, long story short, climate is a resource, it's a commodity. Protect it, harness it, monetize it, because the only way climate survives is if climate is profitable. And the power of the market is the only way climate will survive, in my opinion, and it's working out well. And maybe all of you would also participate in this opportunity and make sure that the new era is a climate era. Thank you, everybody. Let's build a pro-climate world together.